Welcome back. You're watching World News and I'm your host, Klaudia Czerwińska. 13 Polish nationals evacuated from Iran arrived in Warsaw on Thursday morning. The group is mostly made up of non-essential diplomatic staff of the Polish embassy in Tehran.
Thankfully, we are in Poland and we are safe. We are very happy, although very tired. It was very difficult, considering that the situation in Iran is getting worse practically from hour to hour. We pretty much had no access to the internet and we had to get a visa to Azerbaijan ourselves. So our family had to do it, and only because some applications were still working. If it had been 2 hours later, who knows how it would have ended. In general, we were happy with this evacuation because we were taken out of a country where you just don't know how long it will be possible to leave, because we hear that the borders are periodically closed and we would probably have a problem leaving on our own, although scheduled buses to Yerevan and Baku were still running.
Later on Thursday, 65 more Polish citizens are expected to be flown to Poland from the Jordanian capital Amman after they fled Israel. On Wednesday, the first 130 Poles returned home. The group was first escorted to Egypt and later flown to Poland alongside 24 citizens of other European countries, including Austria, France, Germany, and Ukraine, also on board of the flight. The Polish authorities have arranged 2 evacuation convoys for the citizens who were in Israel as tourists or on short-term stays and got stuck in the country amid the latest escalation. Israel and Iran continue trading missile strikes for the 7th day in a row. Iran struck multiple sites in Israel, including a hospital in Beersheba, while Israel hit Iran heavy water nuclear reactor in Iraq.
Overall, at least 47 people were injured after Iran's latest missile barrage targeting several places in Israel. One of them was the Soroka hospital in Beersheba. The Iranian media, however, claimed the attack was aimed at Israel's military command and intelligence facilities located in the hospital's vicinity. The attack has been addressed by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who warned that Iran would pay a heavy price for the strike. At the same time, Israel dispatched fighter jets to attack several sites in Iran, including the Arak heavy water nuclear reactor. Israeli officials claim that the attack hit the reactor's core seal, which is a key component in plutonium production. The officials also said the airstrikes also hit a nuclear weapons development site in Natanz and several factories making components for ballistic missiles. The attacks came amid reports from CBS that Donald Trump has already approved plans to attack Iran. So far, the US president did not make a final decision whether to strike the country. As stated by a senior source in US intelligence, Trump is considering striking Fordo, an underground uranium enrichment facility.
According to Donald Trump, Iranian officials expressed interest in meeting the American president at the White House to discuss the ongoing conflict between Tel Aviv and Tehran. The Iranian mission to the United Nations, however, took to social media to deny the claim and stated that, quote, no Iranian official has ever asked to grovel at the gates of the White House.
They should have made the deal. I had a great deal for them. They should have made that deal. 60 days we talked about it, and in the end they decided not to do it, and now they wish they did it. And they want to meet, but it's a little late to meet, but they want to meet, and they want to come to the White House. They'll even come to the White House, so we'll see. I may do that.
Have you closed the door on meeting with them?
No.
Okay, so it's still open to them coming here in your eyes.
I mean, they asked if they could come. We'll see if that happens. It's not that easy for them to come. They can't get out. They're in Iran, and in one case, the guy wanted to come so badly, but he can't get out because there's bombs dropping all over the place.
Despite a Russia-Iran partnership, Moscow will not intervene in defense of Tehran, according to Denis Kolesnik from the Vienna-based think tank MENA Research Center.
In January of this year, there was a strategic partnership signed between Iran and Russia. But unlike the strategic partnership that was signed between Russia and North Korea, the strategic partnership between Russia and Iran doesn't have any mutual defense clause, which means the Russians are not obliged to help Iran by military means or to get involved into this conflict. Moreover, all Russian, let's say, efforts are going to their conflict against Ukraine, to their war against Ukraine. So, and we've seen, I guess, Vladimir Putin, he was saying that, I cannot quote you exactly, but it was obvious that there was no discussions about any Russian involvement in this war. So I guess for Iran is more or less left alone, at least with regard to the, let's say, kinetic operations. And also there are some reports, definitely impossible to independently verify, that Khomeini has been hiding in a bunker with his family, and that newly appointed head of Pasdaran, Mohammad Pakpur, has the green light to carry out and to take decisions for the country. But I mean, we cannot verify this.
Speaking from the sidelines of the St. Petersburg Economic Forum, Vladimir Putin made several comments about the war in Ukraine and NATO. Among the subjects raised by the Russian president was a possible meeting with Volodymyr Zelenskyy, German Taurus missiles, and NATO's rise in defense spending.
Putin said he is ready to meet with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy if Kyiv and its Western allies are willing to continue negotiations. The Russian president went on to say that the meeting would only take place in the final phase of negotiations. At the same time, Putin reiterated his claim that the Ukrainian president lost legitimacy when his term ended last year. Putin also said that Germany would be directly involved in the war if it supplied Taurus missiles to Kyiv. At the same time, the Russian president claimed the missiles would not stop the Russian advance along the entire front line. On top of that, Putin mentioned NATO's rearmament plans, which he described as lies spread by Western politicians to fool taxpayers into spending more on defense. At the same time, the Russian leader claimed that Moscow posed no threat to NATO and does not regard West's rearmament as a threat to the Russian Federation.
Amid a standoff in Ukraine, Russia peace talks, U.S. Special Envoy to Ukraine, Keith Kellogg, is expected to travel to Belarus in the coming days to hold talks with the country's dictator Alexander Lukashenko. Commenting on the issue, Valery Kavalewski of the Euro-Atlantic Agency told TVP World that Trump's administration is determined to notch up any success in bringing the war closer to an end.
For Trump, this is the absolute priority at the moment, to reach some kind of a peace deal that could show that he has a significant achievement. That was the promise of his administration. This process is not easy, as we have seen. It is quite rocky for all sides, and it seems that Russians have regained some of the territory on the way. So there seems to be a bit of a stalemate for the United States, and General Kellogg is taking this extra step, which looks like rather extraordinary, I would say, that he is trying to engage with Belarus, which is perceived as the immediate ally to Russia.
The Czech Republic's ruling coalition has weathered a no-confidence vote that had been put forth by the opposition in the wake of a Bitcoin scandal that prompted the justice minister's resignation at the end of May.
The motion fell flat as a mere 94 MPs backed the vote, with 101 needed to dissolve the government. With the vote, the opposition aimed to capitalize on the recent scandal ahead of parliamentary elections in October. Last month, the government led by center-right politician Petr Fiala had its foundations shaken after the Justice Ministry accepted a €40 million Bitcoin donation from a convicted drug trafficker, stoking suspicions of money laundering. This led to the country's Justice Minister Pavel Blažek tendering his resignation, which was welcomed by the Prime Minister.
There is no one to vote for, Jan Čulik of the University of Glasgow told TVP World when commenting on the Czech Republic's upcoming parliamentary election scheduled for early October. He also noted that the ruling coalition has fallen out of favor with the voters.
The problem with the Czech Republic is that the government is really quite unpopular. But unfortunately, if I can say this quite succinctly, there's no one to vote for, because the opposition is basically headed by an oligarch, owner of most of the Czech foodstuffs industry, Andrej Babiš. He's also being accused that as a young man he was an informer of the communist secret police. And so you have these two irreconcilable sort of opposites.
A new poll shows Viktor Orbán could lose power in Hungary. The country's main opposition party, TISA, has a 15-point lead over Prime Minister Orbán's Fidesz. The gap between the parties is widening ahead of the next year's parliamentary election.
The center-right TISA party, led by Peter Magyar, poses the biggest political challenge to nationalist Viktor Orbán's 15-year rule as his government faces economic difficulties. Inflation in Hungary was among the highest in the European Union, peaking at 5.7% in January and February, according to Eurostat. The threat of steep US tariffs on EU imports also looms large over Hungary's recovery prospects. Magyar's party, which was only launched last year, has the support of 51% of voters who say they have decided whom to back, while 36% say they would vote for Fidesz, according to a survey by pollster Median published on Wednesday by local news weekly HVG. A majority of those polled say they expected TISA to win the next parliamentary election scheduled for April 2026.
And now some news from the world of technological innovation. Apparently, robots now know how to hike. A humanoid robot has completed its first trial hike on Mount Tai in China. Developed in just over 2 months, the machine is designed to assist in various industries from smart agriculture to wilderness rescue. On Wednesday, Xingzhe Taishang, Mount Tai's first humanoid robot hiking guide, conducted its inaugural test climb. The footage shows the robot hiking the trail with its supervisor, demonstrating its potential for a range of industrial applications. Developed by Shandong Yubato Intelligent Robot, the robot impresses hikers by navigating rugged mountain paths and climbing stairs. Equipped with over 50 core patents, it's set to be used for power grain inspection, smart agriculture, and rescue operations. Well, technology is definitely moving forward. Thank you so much. This marks the end of World News. I'm Kavya Todovinska. Thank you for joining, and we hope to see you here in a minute for more.